All right. Good morning, everyone. It's about 10 o'clock, so I think we're going to kind of get started. Welcome to Facera's mid-career webinar this morning. My name is Jared Wong. I'm the communications analyst here with Facera. I want to first thank you all for being here today to kind of just take a little bit more time to learn about your retirement. I'm going to kind of go over a couple ground, just like housekeeping rules. So we do have a Q&A box there on the right side. I believe it should be on your right side of Microsoft Teams. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask those questions in that box right there. We do have a retirement specialist in the chat that's moderating the questions. So she will be able to answer the questions while we're going through the presentation. Let's see here. If you have any other questions, actually, let me pull that up. I actually think I have it already written there. So I have a question, a published statement there. So if you do have any questions that you may not want to ask in the chat, that's okay. Feel free to just drop us an email or give us a call to our office and we'll be happy to assist with that. Everybody should also have a copy of the PowerPoint deck when you requested to join the webinar. If you don't, I can always send that to you after the webinar. So this webinar will go to about 12 o'clock. We could end sooner. It just depends if there's a lot of questions or things like that. So let's go ahead then and we can get started. I think everything is good on your guys' end. You guys can hear me and everything perfect. So, okay. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to go over the agenda because we do have a lot of stuff that I'm going to cover in this webinar today. So we're going to cover a multitude of things about your retirement. So this presentation is mostly designed for members that at least have 5 years of service that are vested, but they're not looking to retire for at least another 10 years or so. So this is just to kind of get your feet wet to understand exactly what your benefit is, how this impacts you, what you should be looking at, and things for planning for the future. So the first thing that we're going to start with is what is Facera? Then what kind of services do we provide? Then we're going to really get into what is actually your retirement benefit that you get from us. So what is the defined benefit plan? Then we're going to touch upon membership investing, retirement eligibility, retirement factors and benefit options. Then we're going to cover disability, death benefits, and divorce. Options after terminating employment, because that question does get asked to us a lot. And then finally, I'm going to end the webinar with just a little couple educational tools about financial planning and wellness. So just kind of some educational tools that you can use at your disposal. First thing, what is FCERA, or Fresno County Employees Retirement Association? We are an independent public agency that we're governed by the County Employees Retirement Law of 1937, so also known as the CERL. We're governed by the California Public Employees Pension Reform Act of 2013, known as PEPRA. We also are cost sharing and we have multiple employers in our plan. So the plan sponsors that we have the County of Fresno, Clovis Veterans Memorial District, Fresno Mosquito and Vector Control District, the Fresno Madera Agency on Aging, and the Superior Courts of California, Fresno. But most importantly, we pay out a retirement benefit. That is what our mission is. Our mission is to provide a secure retirement benefit and quality service to our members and beneficiaries while investing the assets of the plan within prudent levels of risk. So like I mentioned, our goal here is to pay you a retirement benefit. Now, the type of retirement benefit that we do issue out is called a defined benefit plan. But before I kind of get into that, we're going to continue on like how Fasera works, like what really is it. So I have like a little chart here just to kind of follow. So as you probably noticed, since most of you in this webinar should have already been here at the county for at least, or with us as Facera member, I should say, because not all county employees have been with Facera for at least 5 years or so. So you notice that every paycheck you're having contributions being deducted and taken out and being contributed to Facera. So you could see that right there on the chart. It says member view contributions. Then it shows employer contributions right there. So while you contribute every pay period, the employer does as well. And those go into the middle to this Facera fund. Now then this Facera fund is used to invest and get investment earnings and interest on those investments to help build the portfolio. So then once those earnings and interest get earned, they actually kind of push back to the middle, as you can see from the arrow. It all funds into that Facera fund. That Facera fund is what pays you and me, I'm also a Facera member, a retirement benefit. That's how we pay out the defined benefit plan. So next, what actually is a retirement benefit? What is a defined benefit plan? So what a defined benefit plan is, it is a guaranteed lifetime benefit. So sit there and think about that for a second. Lifetime benefit. That means when you reach retirement eligibility, you will get a payment from us every month for the rest of your life. Now, this retirement benefit that you get as a member of Facera is based on specific factors. So we look at tier level and membership classification. So are you a general or safety member? Are you in tiers 1 through 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5 if you're a general member, or safety member? Are you in tiers 1, 2, 4, or 5? Then we look at your age of retirement. We look at your years of service, or what we know as service credit. And then finally, we look at your salary, or what we call final average compensation. So we take those three factors there, and that's how we calculate what you will get every month from us for the rest of your life. And depending on the option that you select, your beneficiary may be able to receive a percentage of whatever you're getting for the rest of their lifetime in the case of your death. And I'm going to be touching upon benefit options a little bit later in the presentation. So another couple things to know too about this defined benefit plan: you have to be vested to receive some type of benefit. So you cannot, you have to be vested in the plan to receive a benefit from us. And then also to know as well, if you are a member that is in tiers 1 through 3, one of the perks of being in that tier is that you have a potential annual cost of living each year. You can receive a cost of living up to a max of 3% that's per year that's approved by the Board of Retirement. So for next year 2022, the cost of living will be announced in February by our board, and then that's usually when we see a lot of people tend to retire in that first quarter, because if they're eligible for that COLA, if the COLA is good and their numbers look good, they end up retiring. So that's also something to consider if you happen to fall in one of those three tiers. So probably a lot of people don't know this, but how do you become a member in Facera? Well, I would imagine that you'd have to fill out paperwork or something, right? Well, membership is actually mandatory. You actually are automatically enrolled when you are hired as a new employee. If you work less than 50% of full time, you're not eligible for membership. So this is you only become a member if you are 50% or more of full time. Members can people that are hired at age 60 or an elected official, they can choose to opt out at that time that they were hired. It's a one-time election. It's the only time that someone could ever opt out of Facera membership. Otherwise, it is mandatory for all new employees coming in. Contributions are taken every pay period. Rates are available on our website, so you can check that out on our website. It's a home to a bunch of information that you have at your fingertips, especially contributions. All that's listed for tiers 1 through 5 for general, and 1, 2, 4, and 5 for safety. And then, as I touched upon a little bit earlier, we do have 5 plan sponsors. So the County of Fresno, Superior Courts of California, Fresno Madera Area Agency on Aging, Fresno Mosquito and Vector Control District, and the Clovis Veterans Memorial District. So these are the ones that we issue retirement benefits to. Okay, so membership tiers and classification. So this is actually kind of important, that applies to everybody here. So based on your membership and your tier level, your retirement benefits are calculated at a little bit of a different percentage. So your tier level that you are currently in as an employee is based on your entry date into Facera membership. So for example, tier 5 is our newest tier. If you were hired on or after January 1st of 2013, you were placed into tier 5. Now, anybody else that was hired before that, you may be placed in tier 4, tier 3, 1, whatever that may be. That just all depends on what was in place at the time that you were hired. So you can actually check this information on your check stub, and then also you can use the member portal to find out exactly which tier that you are in. Now, outside of tiers, we also have 2 membership classes. So we have safety and general members. So as you guys can see on the screen there, safety members consist of sheriff's officers, correctional officers, DA investigators, firefighters, criminologists with all classifications, chief investigations, all classifications, deputy sheriffs, all classifications. It's a mouthful. So all those job titles that you see right there are categorized under the safety column, under the safety membership. So if you see your job title under that column right there, you are considered safety. If you do not, then you are considered a general member. So all other positions. So examples of that would be a staff analyst, office assistant, accountant, account clerk, retirement specialist, eligibility worker, janitor, security officer. List goes on and on. Safety, as I mentioned a couple times, safety has 4 tiers, 1, 2, 4, and 5. General tiers has 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And you can view what tier you're on through your check stub. You can check our Facera member portal, or you can just give us a call and we can verify that for you. Okay, so vesting. So as I mentioned earlier when we were talking about like exactly what your defined benefit plan is, I mentioned that you do need to be vested in order to receive some type of benefit. Well, this is where this comes in. So you are fully vested in your pension plan after 5 years of service. So one of your main goals is to hit that 5 years of service mark to be vested. Then you're entitled to some type of a lifetime benefit amount upon retirement eligibility, which we are going to cover in just a couple of minutes here. Now, something called reciprocity that I will discuss later as well can be considered towards vesting. And as I mentioned, this is one of your first milestones as a Facera member. So this is what you should be striving for first as a member to get some type of retirement to build it, is to be vested in the plan with 5 years of service. So here is a table that you guys can see that has retirement eligibility. So these show all the retirement eligibility requirements for all the tiers and all membership classifications. So if you look under general, the first column there, we got general tiers 1 through 4. So we got age 50 with 10 years of service for tiers 1 through 4 for general. That's the minimum requirement. You could retire at any age if you have at least 30, if you have 30 years or more of service, or you could retire at age 70 if you're actively employed with a Facera plan sponsor, regardless of years of service. General tier 5, it is age 52 with at least 5 years of service. So once you're vested and you're in tier 5, you need to at least wait until you are age 52 to receive some type of lifetime benefit from us. Now let's look at the safety side. So safety tiers 1, 2, and 4, as safety tier does not have a tier 3. Safety is similar to general tiers 1 through 4. You need to have 10 years of service and be at least age 50. You can retire at any age with 20 years of service. Safety tier 5, age 50 with 5 years of service. So all this information is super important when you're kind of looking at, okay, I've hit that 5-year mark, so when can I start looking at when's the earliest that I can retire? So this is a good starting point to kind of look at to see, okay, so I'm vested, I just turned 38. So I got, let's see, let's say I'm a general tier 5, I got 14 more years. So what can I do if I really want to retire at my earliest point that I can? What can I do? What do I need to look at? Things like that. I need to start securing my other finances and things like that. Okay, so the next thing here is a career milestone little chart here that I came up with. So these are just little milestones that you're going to hit across the way along your career as a Facera member. So your first career milestone is your date of hire. That's your first day at work. You were hired. Congratulations. Then the first day of the second pay period is another milestone. That's your date of membership. That's when you finally become a member of Facera. You actually don't become a member of Facera when you initially start your job, your first pay period. You have to wait until the first day of the second pay period before membership can be established. So that's another milestone right there. Then the third, and probably one of the more important ones there, is the vesting period. You hit your 5-year mark of being an employee, of being a member of Facera. So now you're able to receive some type of a lifetime benefit based off of your age, your years of service, and your final average compensation. Then the next milestone, if you are in tiers 1 through 4 or safety tier 5, is you hit your first eligible retirement date. So age 50 with 10 years of service or age 50 with 5 years of service. And then the other milestone there would be first eligibility date for retirement for general tier 5, age 52 with 5 years of service. And then the last one is the actual retirement date that you choose, because you don't have to retire on your first eligible date. You are in the driver's seat with that. You choose the retirement date that you want based off of the numbers that you feel comfortable with and what you feel that works for you in the future. So now we're going to kind of go a little bit deeper, and we're going to go into the actual types of retirement, and we're going to touch upon the options, things like that. So we have two types of retirement in our Facera plan. We have a service retirement, which is your base retirement, and then we have a disability retirement that we do. So we have two types of disability retirements. We have service-connected and non-service connected disabilities. So we're going to cover service retirement first. So during your service retirement, or your base retirement is what, if I were to break that down a little bit more, we have a formula that we use. That's how we calculate what your monthly lifetime benefit is from us. So as I mentioned, we look at your 3 specific factors to calculate your benefit. So we look at your age factor, so how old you are when you're ready to retire, your service credit, how many years of service that you worked for your employer, and then your last one is your final average compensation, your highest salary. And I'm going to cover each one of these factors individually. So we take those 3 factors there, and that's how we calculate what your monthly benefit is that you will get from us every month for the rest of your life. Okay, so the first factor here is age. So your age can help increase your benefit. So as I mentioned before, and I'm going to actually kind of go back here really quick. I'm going to go back to the retirement eligibility table here. So as you can see, like I'm going to use general tier. I'm going to use that first column for this example. So general tiers 1 through 4, you need to have at least 10 years of service and be a minimum age of 50 in order to where you can retire and start drawing a benefit. Well, age 50 is just the earliest age that you can retire on. So your age can help increase your benefit. So if instead of retiring at your earliest age, if you were to wait until age 55 and you even work longer, not only will your years of service will increase, but you are getting older, so your benefit will increase a little bit more because you are getting older. Your age factor increases in quarter-year increments in our plan up until your tier's maximum age factor. So what really that means is, if the minimum age for you is to retire at age 50, if you waited till age 50 and a quarter, or every quarter age, your benefit increases slightly. So age 50 and a quarter, 50 and a half, 50 and 3/4, into 51. Just by you getting a little bit older each quarter, your benefit increases slightly. Now, I have on the PowerPoint slide a view of the percentage of final average compensation at age 55 with 10 years of service. So what this table really means is, so if you are age 55 with 10 years of service, depending on what tier you are, that's going to show the percentage of whatever your final average compensation is that you will get as your lifetime benefit. So for example, tier 1, if you're age 55 with 10 years of service, you're going to get about 25% of your final average compensation. Whatever that number is, that's what you'll get roughly every month for the rest of your life. General tier 2 is 20%, tier 5, 13%, and so forth. So I actually have a link there to our active members handbook in the PowerPoint slide that you can click on that should take you to our active members handbook on our website that actually has all the tables for all the different tiers that breaks down all the different percentages of final compensation at different ages and years of service. I recommend checking that out. So you looking at what tier that you're in, seeing how old you are when you planning to retire and how many years of service approximately that you're going to have, you can look and see what your percentage of your final comp is to kind of give you an idea. So the second factor that we're looking at here is service credit. So service credit, or what we also call years of service, is basically time that you earn by working and contributing during membership. So basically the time that you are spending at your employer that you're working. Service credit starts at the date of membership. So as I mentioned in the previous slide, you don't become a member of Facera until the first day of the second pay period. So that first day of the second pay period, that's when you start accruing service credit. Service credit is measured in years. And then also earning service credit stops at termination. So if you were to leave employment during the leave of absence, when no contributions were made. So if you took a medical leave of absence, personal leave, whatever that may be, and you were not contributing, you were not using annual leave time or whatever that may be, and you were not getting a check from the county or your employer and contributing into retirement, you would not be earning service credit for that time that you were gone. And then finally, certain service credit would drop as well if employment drops below 50% of full time. And that's important too, because there are a couple ways that if you do take like a leave of absence that you can buy back some time, and we're going to touch upon that in a little bit. But just keep that in mind that service credit does stop at those 3 instances right there. But this is another factor of how we calculate your benefits. So it goes without saying, the longer you work, your benefit's going to be increasing more. So, as I mentioned with service credit, we also, when you're taking a leave, you're taking a leave. You may be able to purchase that time. I'm sorry, I had like I'm having a brain fart here. Okay, sorry. Let me regroup here. It's been a hectic morning already. Okay, so service credit can be increased if you purchase eligible time, which can count toward your vesting period, or just add to your years of service to increase your retirement benefit. So, as you can see on the screen right there, there are service credit available for purchase. So these are the different examples of service credits that may be available to you that you could buy to add to your retirement. So that would essentially raise your years of service, which would increase your monthly lifetime benefit. So the first one is your new hire period. That's your first pay period of permanent employment working 50% or more full time. Everybody is eligible to purchase this time because you all were new hires at one point, and this is and you got this. So everybody is eligible to purchase this new hire time. That's that first pay period. If you were part-time or extra help prior to becoming permanent, you can purchase that time. Redeposit of withdrawn funds. So what this means is, let's just say if you worked for the county of Fresno prior, worked there for 2 years, you left your job, took your money out, so you withdrew your funds from us, and then got back and rehired back to the county. We can calculate how much it would cost you to buy back that time that you cashed out as if you never left, and we re-grant you that years of service that you had. Another thing that can be purchased, but it's only for the California Superior Courts and Special Districts, is prior public service. It's not available to county and Fresno employees. But probably the more common one is leave of absence for like medical leaves. So medical leaves are available to purchase, and then military leaves as long as that military leave was taken during active employment. Unfortunately, personal and educational leave of absences cannot be purchased. So that's something to consider. But this is also something that is done. This is also something that can help you in the future if it's available to you to purchase and help build your retirement benefit. So how would you go about purchasing service credit? Well, on our website, and you can actually click a link in that PowerPoint presentation right there. You can complete the request for service credit calculation form. Once that calculation is complete by our support staff, we will send you a letter in the mail with a quote. That quote's going to tell you all available time that you can purchase, the payment options, the due date, the time, all that information right there. So when you get that quote, you don't have an obligation to purchase that. So you actually don't have to purchase anything. You can just throw that contract away. Now, you can make payments on it, but it just depends. It will be broken down on the contract. So some people, depending on what type of leave that or service credit they're purchasing, it may say, hey, you pay $100 per pay period for 25 pay periods or whatever that may be. So that will be listed on the contract. And purchasing service credit, or a buyback as we call, you can also use your deferred compensation plan to pay for that. So that's also another thing that help build your retirement. And if you're not enrolled in deferred comp and you're not looking to retire for a while, I recommend enrolling into deferred comp and investing. It's going to help supplement your retirement benefit with Facera. Okay. Awesome. I see that you guys have some questions popping in. This is great. So then our specialists, they're taking care of those questions. So awesome. Keep those questions coming. You don't have to wait. We'll get to them as best as we can. And then after, if there's some time, I can just do rapid fire questions too as well. Okay, so the last factor that we're looking at here is final average compensation. So this is the last factor that we use to calculate your lifetime benefit with us. So as you can see on the table right there, each tier has a different way how we calculate your final average compensation. So tiers 1 and 2, we look at your highest 365 consecutive days out of your whole career. We pick that highest year average at any point in your career. And that's what your final average compensation is that we use toward calculating your benefit. Tiers 3 and 4. The average of the tiers 3 and 4, their final average compensation is calculated by taking the average of the highest 3 non-consecutive years in their career. So they can pick out their 3 highest years at any point, average them out, and that's what your final average compensation is going to be for tiers 3 and 4. Now, tier 5. It is the average of your highest consecutive 3-year period of pensionable compensation. It's your highest 3 consecutive years. So these are important when it's understanding like what your tier level is. It's very important to know like what tier level you are in, so you know how your final average compensation is calculated. So that will help you determine, what your benefit and what you should be looking at. So included in your final average compensation, if paid during the final average compensation period, is your base pay plus any pensionable earn codes. Now I've linked the pensionable earn codes right there in the PowerPoint right there, so you can look at what our pensionable earn codes are. Overtime is not considered pensionable. If you have any questions about your final average comp, please feel free, call our office, speak to a retirement specialist. That's what we're here for. We want you to ask these type of questions to have a better understanding of what your retirement is. It's better to start looking at all this information now rather than waiting till toward when it's getting closer and closer. Okay, so now that we've kind of discussed the three factors that we use, so now I'm going to give you like a little brief explanation of the different retirement options that we offer in Fasera. So these are the options that are going to be available to you when you are ready to come in and start the retirement process. So the first option that's available to you is the unmodified option. This option is the highest benefit available to you based on the factors of years of service, age of retirement, and final average compensation. This unmodified option allows you to leave a 60% lifetime continuance to an eligible beneficiary. That eligible beneficiary is a spouse or a minor child. Now, if you have a minor child that is your primary beneficiary, they can receive that 60% continuance all the way until they turn 18 or until they turn 22 if they are full-time enrolled in an accredited school. Now, if you have a non-eligible beneficiary and select this option here, your non-eligible beneficiary can receive a lump sum of any remaining contributions and interest if there is anything left at the time of your death. And then the unmodified option is also one of the options that allows you to change your beneficiary after retirement. So option 1 is the next option there. Well, actually, before I kind of get into that, the unmodified option is probably our most commonly selected option that we do receive from, or that we do see members select when they come in to get their retirement process, because it does pay the most out. And then usually if the member is married, has an eligible beneficiary, that beneficiary gets a 60% continuance. But there are other options that are available to you that may suit your financial needs or your personal needs. So the next option available is option 1. Now, this option is completely different than any other option that we offer. This is the only option that we offer that does not provide a lifetime continuing benefit. So just let that sink in for a minute. All the other options that we're talking about leave some type of a lifetime continuance to a beneficiary. Option 1 does not. So option 1 is a reduced benefit, because remember I mentioned unmodified option is your highest benefit available. Anything I'm talking about after that, you take a slightly reduced benefit. So your option 1 can be, your beneficiary can be anybody. What option 1 does is it pays out a lump sum payout to your named beneficiary of your remaining contributions and interest at the time of your death. And this is the other option that allows you to change your beneficiary after retirement to anyone that you choose. Now, because this option does not provide a lifetime benefit, this option does use your contributions at a slower rate. So the chances for a lump sum payout to your beneficiary, if you were to select option 1, is about roughly, that bucket lasts about 15 to 18 years. Compared to the unmodified option, to where if you select the unmodified option and you have a non-eligible spouse that is only eligible for a lump sum, more than likely that lump sum is going to run out after about 3 years. So keep that in mind. Option 1 is usually mostly taken by single members that maybe have an adult child or a friend or a sibling that they have as their beneficiary. That's usually the go-to option for them if they want to leave them a little something. Now, the other 3 options that we have here, 2, 3, and 4, they all have very similar characteristics. So the similar characteristics with all 3 of these options are they provide a lifetime continuing benefit to your named beneficiary of choice. The second thing is you cannot change your beneficiary after you start receiving payment from us with these options. It's set in stone. You cannot change them. And then the other thing that they have in common is, depending on who you elect as your beneficiary, the bigger the age difference between you and that beneficiary, the bigger of a reduced benefit that you will have for your retirement benefit for the rest of your life. So let's look at option 2. So option 2 is our most reduced benefit. Your beneficiary can be anyone. It does not have to be an eligible spouse, but it can be. This option does provide a 100% continuance of the member's reduced benefit for their lifetime, a 100% continuance. Now, the continuance can be less than 100% if your beneficiary is a non-spouse. So like I mentioned, you can name anyone that you would like as your primary beneficiary, but keep in mind that the bigger the age difference between you and your named beneficiary, the bigger of a decrease of a benefit that you will get every month for the rest of your life. Now, if the beneficiary between the age difference between you and the beneficiary is more than 10 years and is a non-spouse, we have to send that calculation out to our actuary to do the calculation. So if we have to send that out to our actuary to do that calculation, we wait for that to get that back, just keep in mind that can also prolong the retirement process for you on when you could receive your first benefit check. So it could delay the process a little bit. So just keep that in mind if that's an option that you're looking at in the future when you're ready to retire. Now, option 3, like I mentioned, all these options here are very similar in characteristics. Option 3 has the same characteristics as option 2. The bigger the age difference between you and your beneficiary, the more reduced benefit that you can take. Beneficiaries can be anyone. This option 3 here provides a 50% continuance to your beneficiary in the case of your death. So your beneficiary will get 50% of whatever you're getting every month for the rest of your lifetime. Option 2, I do see some married members take that option. I have seen members take that to give their spouse 100%. I don't see any married members take option 3 because you have the unmodified there that pays out your maximum and gives the spouse a 60% continuance. So I don't see really anybody going that route. Option 3, though, I have seen like some members list their adult child or someone as their beneficiary and they get 50%. So that's always an option. And then finally, option 4 is something that we rarely see, but it still does happen in our office. Most of the time we see an option 4 as due to a marital settlement agreement due to a divorce. What option 4 is it's a customized actuarial calculation based on specific instructions. So this option allows you to be custom and allows you to customize your retirement for multiple beneficiaries. So you actually can leave 2 or more beneficiaries a continuing lifetime benefit in the case of your death. Now, keep in mind, it has the same characteristics as option 2 and 3. The bigger the age difference between you and your beneficiary, or how many beneficiaries that you list as well, that will decrease what your monthly benefit is going to be for the rest of your lifetime. And as I mentioned, with these options, you cannot change your beneficiary at any time. They're set in stone after you've made that election and received your first check. They're set in stone, so you cannot change that. So keep that in mind with that option 4. But like I mentioned, it is a customized option. And this is also another option that if someone were to want to go this route, we do have to send this out to the actuary. So if we by sending this out to the actuary, this could potentially delay when you receive your first benefit check. So there's always a possibility for that. So just keep that in mind as well. And just to let you all know, this webinar is being recorded and will also be available later on to view. We actually have a YouTube channel that I post a lot of our webinars on. I'm trying to integrate it with our website, but if you go to YouTube and search Fresno County Retirement, you should see the Facera logo and you can see all of our webinars on there. This one will be on there probably later today, but everyone that's also attending, I will be sending out an email with the YouTube link on there as well. So I have the registration list of everybody. I will be sending the YouTube link out, and then I will also be sending you guys a survey later on because I would like to hear your feedback on how you think the webinar is and things like that, so we can improve, make it better. Okay, so we touched upon those retirement options right there that you guys see. We went over the different retirement factors and everything. We are just kind of moving along here. So the next slide. This is the infamous question that we get. We get calls, we get emails. Hey, how much is my benefit when I'm ready to retire at age 50 or 55, whatever that may be? Well, we actually have a way that you can do that on your own 24/7, 365. That is utilizing our Facera member portal. I cannot stress to you how important utilizing this member portal is. This is single-handedly your best financial planning tool for your Facera benefit. This member portal will allow you to view your beneficiary information so you can see who your beneficiary is, calculate your retirement benefit estimates. So you can actually run different estimates. And then when you run those estimates in the portal, it will actually break down the different options for you. And also just kind of go over all that, what that can mean to your beneficiary as well. You can also view your contribution balance, so you can see what you've contributed so far, what you should be contributing to per pay period, and so forth. If you have not have access to the member portal, you do need to register, and you will need a unique identifier. So there's 2 ways that you can get that unique identifier. You can give us a call, or you can send us an email to Fasera@FresnoCountyCA.gov. I have it in. It was one of the first messages that I posted in that Q&A chat right there. So you should be able to see where I put our email address on there. Just send us an email from your work email, not your personal email, from your work email, and then I can get you that number for you. And then you can register and have access to the portal. This is going to be super important for everybody to when it gets closer to planning. So that way when you know that you'd say, hey, I'm looking to retire March 31st of 2026. So let's see what my estimated benefit's going to be. Okay, great. Then I can start looking and getting my other things in order and see what else I need to look at to see if I can make that work. So here, this is a screenshot of our website there. So if you go to our website, you should see that. You should see our website that looks like that with our little lady right there. Looking at the laptop, on the upper right-hand screen, you should be able to see the member portal right there next to the magnifying glass. Just click on that. It's going to take you to a login screen. That's where you'll log in. If you have never registered for it before, Under the login button, which is an orange button, there should be a button there that you can click that says register. So you click on that button right there, and then it'll take you to the registration screen. That's where you're going to enter all that information, and then you're also going to enter your unique ID number there to register your account. Woo! Okay, moving right along. So the next thing we're going to cover here, so we went over, that was all service retirement. That was all service retirement. Now we're going to touch a little bit on disability retirement. So disability retirement, if you become disabled and unable to perform essential functions, that's very key, unable to perform essential functions of your job, you may be eligible for a disability retirement. So you can apply by completing a disability application that can be found on our website. It's actually linked there for you in the PowerPoint, so you can have access to that. Now we offer two types of disability retirements. We offer service-connected disability and non-service-connected disability. I've also linked there our disability retirement policy from our website. I recommend checking that out because that disability policy lays out the whole plan from start to finish, how that works. It covers the entire process. There is also a flow chart under the forms tab on our website as well that gives you a flow chart for the disability retirement. So all that information can be found on our website. Okay, so for service-connected disability, unable to perform the essential functions of your specific job to injury or illness. So that's going to be a recurring thing. You're unable to perform your essential functions of your job. So service-connected disability is like you got injured on the job. So your job caused or substantially contributed to your injury or illness. Member must be permanently incapacitated. So that's a thing that is being said. You have to be permanently incapacitated to be considered for a service-connected disability or a disability retirement in general. Temporarily disabled is not applicable. There is no minimum service requirement needed to apply and potentially be granted a service-connected disability. The SCD pays 50% of your final average compensation or your service retirement benefit amount at that time if you're eligible, whichever amount is greater. So this is really for the disability portion. This is really as far as I go as far as giving out more detailed information. If you have any questions, check out the policy, check out the flow chart, or call our office and speak to a retirement specialist. They'll be happy to help you with that. Okay, so real quickly here, non-service, the other side. This is just an injury or illness that happens outside of work, but the same rules apply. You have to be unable to perform the essential functions of your specific job due to injury or illness. Temporarily disabled is not applicable. But the big difference with this and non-service connected disability is that if you apply for this, you do need to be vested with 5 years of service. And your benefit does vary based on your age and years of service and can be up to 1/3 of your final average comp or your service retirement benefit amount, whichever one is greater. So like I mentioned, this is as far as I go with the disability portion. So if you have questions, feel free to call our office, send us an email. We'll be glad to help you out with those type of questions. But also check out the disability policy on our website and the flow chart on our website. It gives you a little bit more insight and information on how all that stuff works. Okay, so death benefits. So every member of Facera has death benefits available to you, and they're categorized in different instances. So if you're active, deferred, retired, so forth. So here, these are just showing you giving you some information about death benefits before retirement. Not something you want to think about, but these options are available if something were to happen to you. So if you're an active member with 5 years of service or more, so if you're vested, you have 3 options available for a named beneficiary or an eligible spouse or a minor child. Your first option, that could be any beneficiary that you choose, is a return of employee contributions and interest plus up to 6 months of your employee salary. The second option there is only to a qualified beneficiary only, which is a spouse or a minor child. This would pay out a monthly survivor allowance benefit. And then the third option we offer, if something were to happen to you while actively employed and you're vested, is option 3. This is also only available to a qualified beneficiary only. This is a reduced monthly service allowance benefit. and then also up to 6 months of employee salary. As I mentioned, a qualified beneficiary is a spouse or a minor child. We also, like I mentioned, there's also death benefits payable to active members that are not vested, deferred members as well. So if you're an active member that is not vested with 5 years of service, we would return the employee contributions that you and interest that you've put into the plan up to 6 months and up to 6 months of the employee's salary. Deferred members or terminated employment, that's what we call deferred members. It would just be a return of contributions and interest to that named beneficiary. We also have non-service connected death. Member must at least have 5 years of service. The spouse or minor child must be the beneficiary to receive a 60% continuance of the non-service connected death retirement benefit or service retirement, whichever is greater. And then we also have a service connected death, which means that you do not have to be vested with 5 years of service. The spouse or minor child must be the beneficiary to receive a 100% of the SCD retirement or service retirement, whichever amount is greater. So with that being said, talking about the different options for death benefits for employees, it's good to know that naming your beneficiary. So death benefits are payable to your designated beneficiary. Cannot stress this enough. Make sure that you keep your beneficiary up to date with us, because if something were to happen to you, we pay out whoever you have listed as your beneficiary, regardless of who you intend to go with that or not, unless you have a surviving spouse. Your beneficiary can be anyone. Beneficiaries are eligible if you're vested, non-vested, or beneficiaries. Benefits are eligible if you're vested, non-vested, active, or deferred. And I can't stress this enough. Keep your beneficiaries up to date. Updating your beneficiary with your employer does not mean it's updated with us. They do not share that type of information with us. So you need to make sure if you change it with them, you got to change it with us. I actually have our beneficiary change form linked in the PowerPoint right there that you can click. Takes you to our website to the form. You do need to fill that form out, and you would need to submit it by mail or drop off. We cannot accept digital submissions for the beneficiary change form. You could check your current beneficiary through our member portal. If you do not have access to the member portal, you can give our office a call and we can let you know who your beneficiary is that we have on file. So this is also something to consider that you need to keep tabs on while you're planning your retirement, and later on in the future, figure out who you want to have as your beneficiary. Is everything in place? Do if something happens to that beneficiary, do you have a contingent in mind? Things like that. Just some things to think about. Okay, so we talked about death benefits. Now we're going to talk about the other D word, divorce. So California is a community property state. An ex-spouse may be entitled to an interest in your retirement benefit. So if you ever had a divorce during your Facera membership, you need to notify us as soon as possible. Or if you're in the divorce process, notify us as soon as possible. If the divorce has been finalized, we will need copies of your finalized divorce documents and any attachments to the judgment that may occur with those documents. Each divorce case is unique and must be reviewed by our divorce unit. And we are only interested in marriages that occur during your Facera membership. If you got married prior to being employed and becoming a member of Facera and got divorced, we don't care. Outstanding divorce documents may delay your retirement benefits. So if you come in for a counseling session and you intend to retire and you're signing all the paperwork and you let us know, hey, I have a divorce that's pending, or I've had a divorce during my county service, and you don't provide us those docs and we're waiting for that, that's going to delay when you will receive your first benefit check. We will not issue any type of benefit check until we have verified your divorce documents and see how that looks, because we need to see if there's any portion of your benefit that will go to that ex-spouse that's in the document. So if you had a divorce during your Facera membership already and it's been finalized, even though you're not looking to retire for another 10 years or so, get us a copy to our office, let our divorce unit review it. It will be put in your file, so that's one less thing that you have to worry about when you're ready to retire. It's better to have a lot of this stuff, if it's available to you already, looked at and placed in your file. So that's one little thing that you don't have to stress about when it's getting closer to that retirement date. So common divorce documents, judgment of dissolution, attachment to judgment, and any other marital settlement agreements. So if there's a division of retirement benefits, there are some required documents that we will need. So like a joinder or a court-filed domestic relations order. The Fasera divorce policy and sample documents are also available on our website, which is linked right there for you to have access to. And then, like I mentioned, if you have any questions, feel free to call our office and speak to the divorce unit. They'll be happy to answer any questions that you have. That's what we're here for. So if you have any questions, feel free to contact our office. Okay, so we are actually getting pretty close to being done with the presentation, or I would say we're over halfway already. So the next thing that we're going to talk about here is terminating employment. Now, I know this is probably something that you're like, whoa, why are we talking about this? Well, because we're in the midst of, this is a mid-career seminar, right? We're in the midst of your career. Life change has happened, whether you move out of state, move to a different job, move to a different city, whatever that may be. So if you happen to leave employment, you need to know what your options are. So if you happen to leave employment with the county, you have 3 options of what you can do with the retirement contributions that you've put into the plan. You can refund your contributions, you can defer them, or you can establish what is called reciprocity. So the first one is refund of contributions, which basically how it sounds. You're taking the money out of the plan. So if you leave employment and you decide to take this option, you can only take out what you have contributed and any of the associated interest that's accompanying that. You are not entitled to the employer's contribution. Funds can only be withdrawn at separation. So you cannot borrow against your retirement at any time. That is a commonly asked question that I've seen get asked is you cannot borrow against your retirement at any time. If you have deferred comp, you can. Forfeit of it goes without saying, if you're refunding your contributions, you're forfeiting a potential monthly lifetime benefit. So then if you decide to leave employment and take that refund option, you do have a couple ways that how we can get that money to you. So there's the direct distribution, meaning that we cash you out and we send you a check. If we go around that route, there is a mandatory 20% federal withholding that is taken on that check and an optional state tax withholding. The next option is a direct rollover that can be transferred funds to another qualified retirement account. So if you have a 401k, 403b, 457, whatever that plan may be, you can roll that over to avoid taxes and penalties. And then finally, we offer a partial direct distribution and partial rollover. So let's say that you want 10% in your pocket and the rest 90 rolled over, we can do that. We can make that happen for you. The second option is deferral. All this really means is you're leaving your contributions on deposit. You can still refund your contributions at any time and waive your right to a future payment even if you choose the deferral option. As long as the contributions are sitting in the Facera fund, your interest will continue to accumulate and accrue twice a year. Benefits of deferring. So there are some benefits of deferring if you were to leave employment. So if you're vested with 5 years of service and you leave employment and defer, you can defer until your retirement to when you meet the minimum age of retirement for your tier, and you can start drawing a monthly lifetime benefit once you're eligible. If you're not vested, so if you have less than 5 years of service, you can still defer. And then let's say that you end up getting hired back to another Facera plan, to a Facera plan sponsor later on, and you can become vested again. So if you defer after 2 years and you leave and then get rehired back, you would only need 3 years to be vested. Or if you're not vested and defer, you could establish reciprocity with a California public agency that can help towards making you vested to get some type of retirement benefit. Which actually leads me into the last topic here, which is reciprocity. So reciprocity is the linking of 2 or more California participating public agencies. What this big word means is this is a link between Facera and another agency that helps protect the value of your pension, encourages a career in the public sector. So reciprocal agencies that we can establish this link with are any county in California, many cities and towns, including the city of Fresno, any Calpers managed agency, any agency or local government that has an agreement with Calpers, the CalSTRS, and the judge's retirement system. So how would you go about establishing reciprocity? Well, to establish this link, there's these 3 little steps that you can do. So you must terminate and leave your contributions on deposit at the prior retirement association. So you're going to leave one job and leave your money there. Then you must establish new membership at a new California Public Agency Retirement Association within 6 months of leaving the prior association. Once established, then you must retire from all systems on the same day. That's super, super important. That's how you keep that link established, and you'll get to use the benefits that I'm going to talk about in just a moment. Reciprocity is also optional, so you don't have to establish it if you don't want to. So why would someone establish reciprocity? Well, these are a couple of reasons why. There's some advantages right here to establishing reciprocity. The first one is years of service, or what we call service credit. So if you establish reciprocity, years of service will be added together from all systems to determine vesting and eligibility. Salary or final compensation is also another advantage. Your benefit will be based on the highest final average compensation in any linked agency. And then finally, contribution rates. If you are in tiers 1 through 4, this only applies to them, not tier 5. Facera will use your members' entry age from the reciprocal agency to determine your contribution rates. So tier 1 through 4 is a contribution system that you're paying. It's an age-based contribution plan, meaning that you are paying contributions based off of how old you are when you were first hired. Tier 5 is a flat rate contribution plan. So now that I kind of gave you guys advantages of how this works, I'm going to give you a little bit of an example. So one of the agencies that we can establish reciprocity with is Calpers. So let's say that I worked under the Calpers system for 2 years. I left, and let's say I came here to the county of Fresno, and I stayed here as a Fasera member for the rest of my career, let's say 30 years, and I established this reciprocity. So by establishing that link, both systems are going to talk to each other. Now, Calpers has the same vesting period as us. You need to have 5 years of service. Well, under this example, I only have 2, but because I established reciprocity, Calpers can use the 30 years I've earned as a Facera member to make me invested in their plan. So they can add those 30 years on to what I've earned, what I've had at the Calpers system to make me invested in their plan. Now they're only doing that to make me invested in retire eligible. They're not making it to where they're adding those years of service to where I have 32 years under that system. They're paying me under that. They're still only going to pay me based off of the 2 years that I actually worked. But let's take it to another step further. We're going to use that salary there. So let's say the highest salary I earned under the Calpers system was $40,000, and then the highest salary I earned at the county of Fresno under the Facera membership was $80,000. Both Facera and Calpers will use that $80,000 salary to calculate your benefit. That's pretty good. That's pretty good. It's fantastic. So those are big examples of why someone uses reciprocity to do all that. It's a huge advantage. But you have to also make sure once that link is established that you retire on the same time, that you retire on the same date. Because if you don't retire on the same date, it's going to cause you to break reciprocity, which can cause a bunch of different issues. As I mentioned, I spoke too soon. It's on the next slide. So disadvantages of establishing reciprocity. Breaking reciprocity can have a negative impact. So it can change a change in your age-based contribution rate, make you which it can make you underpayment of contributions where you owe the other agency money. But that's only for tiers 1 through 4. The other thing about breaking reciprocity, it may affect your eligibility to retire. So that example that I used, I only had 2 years under the Calpers system. And if I broke that reciprocity, now I'm no longer vested. So I'm no longer eligible for any type of benefit from Calpers. And then also breaking reciprocity will no longer share highest final average compensation between agencies. So if you were to leave employment and you have reciprocity established and you want a refund, You cannot refund your contributions from the previous agency until you refunded your contributions from the most current agency. So what that really means is, so let's say we will use that example of Calpers and Facera, and then I have that established. Facera, under Facera membership, County of Fresno is my current employer. Let's say that I needed money really bad and I wanted to withdraw my money from Calpers and break Reciprocity because I needed the money. Well, I can't do that not only because Reciprocity has been established, but in order for me to cash out in Calpers, I have to cash out from the county under Fasera membership as well. So I would have to terminate employment and cash out in order to do so. If I was already terminated and I didn't work for either one, I'd have to cash out from Fresno first, from Facera first before I can cash out from Calpers. Disability retirement, your benefit may also be adjusted based on your awarded disability benefit from the reciprocal agency. So we have had to deal with some of that in the past. So if you have a disability retirement that's being granted by the other agency and you have reciprocity established with us, your benefit may be adjusted based off of that award letter. Okay, so we're at basically the end of the presentation. So this is actually kind of like the fun part, or I don't know, fun for me, I guess. This is the stuff I like to talk about. Now that we've gone over most of the stuff that's in the plan about your Facera benefit, like how it works, what are the different options available to you, all these different things. So I'm going to end this webinar a little bit with some financial planning and wellness, because this presentation is mostly for mid-career members that, looking to retire, probably not for another 10 years or so. Or maybe it could be longer, it could be sooner, I don't know. But these are things to think about. Now, just a disclaimer, this is not advice that I'm giving you. This is just educational tools. I'm not telling you, hey, go invest into this, go do Bitcoin, go do Dogecoin, all this other stuff. This is just educational tools I think people should know, because honestly, at least I can speak for myself, this was not taught to me when I was in school. And I wish it was, because this is actually really helpful information. So financial wellness is the overall health of an individual. So why is this important? Well, this can help plan for the future, can help or avoid common issues for employees, such as stress, health, diet, depression, anxiety, poor job performance, because you can't concentrate because you're always worried about money, or a life event, divorce, medical, family, and so forth. Because let's be honest, money is a stressful factor. A lot of people think about money all the time, and it can be very, very stressful. So having these ideas and thinking about what you can do and how this impacts your life and what you can do for that, this can help not only your retirement planning in the future, but just everyday life. So here's the thought. According to Nielsen data, the American Payroll Association, Career Builder, and the National Endowment for Financial Education, they ran a survey that roughly 50 to 78% of Americans live paycheck to paycheck. And this is prior to COVID. This is prior to the pandemic. So I would imagine I'm curious of what that statistic is now because of the COVID pandemic. So almost 3 in 10 adults have no emergency fund that covers at least 3 months of expenses. So in a recent survey from Career Builder, more than 70% of respondents say that they are in debt. So retirement is this happy time and everything, right? So you meet the next chapter of your life and you're going on and you're like, hey, all right, I can't wait to travel, do all these different things, but you're going to need income during retirement as well. So your Facera benefit is a big portion of your retirement. It's a huge portion, as you can see on the chart there. It's the building block of your retirement, but it's not the end all be all. You may need other sources of income to help supplement your lifestyle of living when you retire. So financial advisors sometimes say that you need at least 70 to 80% of your pre-retirement income as retirement income. So the question you need to ask yourself is, how much income do I need? So keep in mind, your Facera pension alone may not be enough to cover your financial needs when you retire. Now is the time to kind of plan and look at your retirement and determine what steps you need to take for the future. So a couple of other options besides your Facera pension to consider to help build as income for your retirement. Deferred compensation. So for county employees, for example, I could speak on is nationwide. Are you enrolled in nationwide? Are you doing the deferred comp? As a tier 5 employee like myself, I don't have access to cost of living adjustments, so I enrolled in the deferred comp to help supplement my retirement benefit. So that's something to consider. Savings, your own savings in other personal investments. So if you have real estate investments, stock market investments, or just savings in general, that's always good. And then finally, the top of that pyramid there, Social Security. While Social Security is around right now, it's not always a guarantee if it's going to be around 30 years from now. So you always have to kind of look at these other building blocks in this pyramid here to help supplement that income. These are just some things to think about outside of your Facera pension. So being prepared for retirement or being prepared for anything, for financial wellness. So a couple things to consider: have a plan, budget, debt management, savings, and we're going to touch upon the deferred compensation plan. And remember, these are educational purposes only. I'm not advising you to go invest or anything like that. These are just things that you can take for your gain. If you want to look into more into this and utilize this, good. That's on you. So why have a plan? Well, what are your goals? Having a plan is important. So what are your goals? In relevance to this presentation, what are your goals? Do you want to retire early? Do you want to retire at age 55 instead of waiting till 65? Do you want to go to college for you or your kids? Buying a new home, big purchases. This is why having a plan for finances is important, because you'll need to know how much you'll need, especially for retirement. How much do you think you can live off of per month? What do you think you need to make? How much can you save? And then also think about how you can track your performance of how your savings are going. The dreaded B word, budget. Nobody likes to talk about this. Let's be honest here. No one likes to talk about money. No one likes to talk about budgets. We only talk about money when it impacts celebrities or whatever that may be. But money is very personal. Not trying to dig into anybody's personal information, but this is something to consider for you when you're not only planning your retirement, but just looking at it now. A budget is a summary of estimated income and how you will spend it over a period of time. This basically lets you track where your money is going every month and see what you're spending. This can help pay off debt or save money for a bigger purchase or save for your retirement, like putting away in deferred comp, whatever that may be, or other investments. Just ask yourself this question. Every month that you guys get paid, so like for us counting points, we get paid twice a month or 2 pay periods a month most of the time. Out of your paycheck, do you know where every single dollar goes? Do you know where every single dollar is being spent? If you do, then you're using a budget. If you aren't using a budget, but you still know, hey, you're just on top of the game and you know what you're doing. But I'm going to take a stab in the dark that a lot of people don't know where every dollar is going in their paycheck. So that's just something to be aware of, like looking at, seeing where, just try it for a month, see where your money's going. Because I've had friends that say, hey, I spent all my paycheck. I don't know where it went. And then it turns out when they actually tracked it all, they spent it on a bunch of other stuff and they had excess money to buy that, put toward buying that new car they wanted, or, saving for something bigger, whatever that may be. So budgets are important because, like I said, it can see where your money is going and how much money that you have left over. There's a bunch of various tools and apps that are available online now that you can do. Technology makes everything so much easier now. There's an EveryDollar app, there's a Mint app, there's a YNAB. There's so many different apps, or you could just do it like I do too. I use Google Sheets. I have an app too, but I mostly use Google Sheets to do my stuff, just to kind of get an idea where I'm going. It's helped me save up to put a down payment on my house and all these other things. So it's very, very useful. Whatever works for you, but this is just something to consider. Debt management. So real quickly, ask yourself, what would it look like if you had no payments? Be pretty good, especially for retirement life, right? If you had no payments, outside of just your automatic bills that happen every month, but if you had no debt payments during retirement, you have more money to travel, do whatever you need to do. You should always manage your debt to debt ratio or reduction. Review your credit report twice a year just to see if there's any fraudulent activity that's been open that you may not be aware of. It's always important. So if you have some debt to pay off, like I paid off my student loans, there are a couple different ways that you can pay off that debt that a lot of people use that a lot of financial people push out. Like the debt avalanche, for example, you pay off your debt in order of highest to lowest interest. You pay the minimums on all the other debt while attacking the highest interest, or the debt snowball, which is very popular as well. You can pay off your debt in order to smallest to largest, making minimum payments on all debts except the smallest. Pay as much as you can on the smallest debt, and you repeat until everything has been paid, just like a snowball going down a mountain. You keep building and building and building this giant snowball to get to the bottom of the mountain and knock everything out. Emergency funds and savings. This is also important, especially in a time now during a pandemic and everything. So emergency fund is money set aside to cover life's unexpected events. And I get it. It's hard. It's hard to do. No one said financial stuff is easy, but at least having this information available to you to kind of think about it can make you really put pen to paper and see if you can make this work. So having some type of an emergency fund can help reduce financial stress, can help stop adding to debt as well. They recommend a lot of financial experts recommend your emergency fund should be at least 3 to 6 months of expenses. But hey, try, if this is new, maybe try saving a month. See if you can do that. And then if you know you can do that, and then it's like slowly increment. That's the beauty about personal finance. It's personal. It's up to what you want to do. You don't have to follow a certain plan, whatever makes you comfortable and what makes you motivated to do that. Same thing with retirement planning. Everybody has a different way of looking at stuff. So just go at your own pace. There's a ton of tools at your disposal. So the internet is your friend. It's also your enemy, but it is your friend. YouTube is probably one of the best places to learn about a lot of financial stuff. There's so many financial people out there. You can find one that works to your thinking and your perspective. There's guys like, let's see, Dave Ramsey is very popular, but I like a guy on YouTube, Graham Stephan. He's very good. He's around my age as well, so it's like maybe that's why I relate more to him. Google is also good. There's a bunch of bloggers and everything that put that stuff out there. Noble Credit Union actually does a lot of these webinars too. So sometimes they put out emails like that. You should check them out too, because Noble Credit Union actually puts out a lot of good financial information. There's a bunch of podcasts now. Podcasts are becoming more and more popular. So there's a bunch of financial podcasts. You can check those out on Spotify, YouTube, whatever that may be. There's books. You could read books, get books at the library, or hire a financial planner. These are all important when you're looking at the grand scheme of not just your Fasera pension, but retirement in general, getting a broader picture and being ready for it. It's better to plan early than not plan at all. And finally, take advantage of your deferred compensation plan if you can do it. This can help supplement your income when you retire. This is super important, especially if you are a tier 4 and 5 member. We don't have cost of living adjustments like tiers 1 through 3. So taking advantage of deferred comp is such a huge, huge thing for tier 4 and 5 members. You can start enrolling now and investing in your future. I have the nationwide 457 plan for the county of Fresno on there, fresno457.com. Superior Courts of California has Empower. There's their website. If you're in a special district in this webinar, contact your HR department about your options. Oh, and I need to change this. Oh boy, I did not change that. My bad, guys. This is our contact list. So this is our email list right there. If you have any questions, send us an email. Our mailing address is right there. Our office is actually open. It is not temporarily closed due to COVID-19. We are actually open again. We're open from 9 to 12 and 1 to 5. You can give us a call at 457-0681. You have questions, retirement specialist will assist you. And then you can view our website at FresnoCountyRetirement.org. That has a ton of information on there, and we're always adding to it. So use that as a resource as well. We also are going to be doing a lot more webinars in the future, especially during the lunch hour. I don't know if anybody's caught my lunch and learns, where we talk about a topic each lunch period. Lunch hour, last lunch period or lunch webinar I did was about the TAO, the temporary annuity option. I'll probably have one in November. I'm working on a couple things right now. But other than that, that's really it for this whole mid-career webinar presentation. So I want to thank you guys for sitting through it. I know it's a lot of information being thrown at you. This webinar will be uploaded to YouTube, and I will send you guys a link to all the registries after it's been uploaded. But now, since we got some extra time, we still got 45 minutes. If you have any other questions, feel free to throw them in the Q&A right now, and we could just do a rapid fire question thing real quick. If you personally don't have any questions, you're feel free to leave. You can, or you can stick around and see if anybody asks any questions. Outside that link that I will be sending you for the replay of this webinar, you will also be getting a survey. You will also be getting a survey about today's webinar. I would appreciate if you fill it out, give your opinion. I definitely want to know if there's ways that we can improve and things like that. So please, by all means, help. Feel free to do that. Okay, so it looks like I have a question here. I'll see if I can address it really quickly. This is a good question. If you are planning to retire and have a date in mind, how much time in advance should you contact Facera? That's a fantastic question. So if you have a date of retirement in mind, you can contact us at least 90 days out. No earlier than 90 days from the retirement date that you choose. Once you contact us, a retirement specialist will schedule for an appointment within 60 days of that retirement date that you choose, because you cannot sign any paperwork outside the 60-day window from your retirement date. But you can call us 90 days in order to schedule. Will the Q&A be available to us? I could try to create a document. To do that. So might just give me some time. It might take a little bit, but I will see if I can create something for you. Let's see. Regarding the death benefit, how do you select your death benefit option? Does it automatically default to the first option that was discussed? So it depends on what are you referring to, an active member's death or a retiree's continuing benefit? If it's an active member's death, we contact the beneficiary and the beneficiary is able to make that choice. If it's a retiree's death and it's leaving a continuing benefit, that benefit that's paid out to the beneficiary goes based off of the option that was selected. Oh, can you guys not hear me? Someone said they cannot hear me anymore. Did the sound turn off? Are we good? We still good, guys? We still good? I hope so. It doesn't look like I'm muted. Okay. Let's see. If I died after I retired, is that the end of my monthly pension? Will my beneficiaries receive any benefit? Okay, so we're going to go back to really quickly here. We're going to go back. So it really just depends. All this really depends is what option that you select. Depending on the option that you select, that will determine if your beneficiary does receive something. So, for example, the unmodified option, if your primary beneficiary is, at the time that you retire, is a spouse or a minor child, in the case of your death, they would be eligible for a 60% continuance. What that means is they would get 60% of whatever you are getting every month for the rest of their lifetime. If that's a spouse, if it's a minor child, they would get 60% of whatever you're getting every month up until they turn 18 or until they turn 22 if they are full-time enrolled in an accredited school. So hopefully that answers your question. All right, we just keep them coming. Oh boy. Sorry, this may not be a Fasera question, but what happens to our annual leave when we retire? No, that's a fantastic question. That question gets asked a lot. So the easiest thing I can tell you about your annual leave hours is we don't make that jurisdiction. Contact employee benefits or your HR department. Basically, most of the time, if you're a county employee, for example, most of the time your annual leave hours will be cashed out to you on your last paycheck. But contact employee benefits or your HR department and talk with them with that, because they are the ones that will they can determine that for you, and then they will send us that information later on after you've retired. Okay, wow, these are coming in. Okay, you had mentioned that we can send an email to see what it would look like, with the ready to retire date. Is this something we can do now, or do we have to do it when we are 60 days out? I'm curious to see where I stand at this point. So you actually don't need to come in to see anybody to see what your estimated benefits are. You can actually use the member portal. The Facera member portal will allow you to run estimated calculations to see what your retirement is at this point, or if you wanted to retire next year, for example. So the easiest way to do that is if you've never registered for the portal, send us an email from your work email, and we'll give you a unique identifier to help register. What you'll need that number to complete your registration. Once you register with our member portal and complete the registration, you can have access to the portal and you can run those calculations with the different retirement dates in mind to kind of see where you stand. And then if you have any questions after looking at that, you can give us a call and a specialist will be more than glad to help you out with that. Okay, I have some service time in tiers 2 and am currently in tier 3 due to changes that occurred in 2007 and 2008. The sunset. Yes. How will this impact how the final compensation is calculated? Oh Lord. That is a long question. You know, that's going to take some time. I will have to get back to you on that. Unless one of the specialists is in the chat, if they can answer that question and type that out for the member, that would appreciate that. And I can move on to the next question. All right. Oh my gosh. Thank you. Okay, let's see. Let's see. If you worked at Calpers for less than a year and they issued an unclaimed fund to the state for your contribution and cashed it, is it too late to establish reciprocity? You know, I actually don't have an answer for that question. That's a very good question that I've actually never heard of an unclaimed fund for that for less of a year than service. You might have to send us an email. We can get back to you on that. Do we have an app? We do not have an app, unfortunately. We have not gotten that far down the technological rabbit hole to have an app. So apologize for that. I still don't understand how the 60% of my benefits work. Can you give an example? Okay, so are you talking about leaving a 60% continuance? So let me pull up the benefits chart here. Let me pull up. I don't know where anything is anymore. Oh, sorry guys, hold on. I'm losing my mind there. Okay, here we go. So I still don't understand the 60%. So the 60%, we're going to look at that unmodified column here. So the easiest way to explain this is, let's say that you select the unmodified option and you have an eligible spouse, okay? So let's say that your benefit per month is $3,000, okay? And you get that every month for the rest of your life. Let's say that something happens to you and you pass away. Then your surviving spouse would be eligible for 60% lifetime continuance. So what that means is, we look at that $3,000 amount that you were giving every month. We take 60% of that, which is $1,800. So your spouse would get $1,800 every month for the remainder of their lifetime, in the case of your death. And then after that, once that spouse passes away, the benefit is done. There's no other transfer of a continuing benefit. So hopefully that makes sense. Hopefully I answered your question there. Are there slides on how to use the retirement benefit calculation function on the Fasera member portal? No, there is not, but there may be in the future. If you would like if you would like a walkthrough of how to use that, you can always give me send me an email. We can set up a time. You can give me a call, and we can I can walk you through that how to use that. I have no, I'd be happy to help with that. But yeah, that may actually be something we will do in the future. Hope not a duplicate. Can we use annual leave time for service time? So normally no, but like I mentioned, your annual leave time is determined through your, we recommend talking to employee benefits or your HR department. So basically when you retire, after about a couple weeks after you retire, we get a report from HR showing all your annual leave hours and if everything that you've used or had left on the books when you retired. If there's any hours on the books that you had that can be used towards service credit, they tell us what those hours are and we use those hours, and then we adjust your benefit later on to your third monthly benefit check. Most of the time though, your annual leave hours are cashed out to you on your last check. Like for county employees, for example, most of the time your annual leave hours are cashed out to you on your last check. To avoid any potential increased taxes on those annual leave hours, you can roll those over to deferred comp if you wish. But that's another good question. Very good question. Okay, let's have some pretty good questions today. Do we got anything else? We got a little bit more time. If not, then we may be able to. I will give it a minute. If there's no other questions in a minute or so, like I mentioned, everybody is free to leave the webinar. I just wanted to personally thank you guys again for taking the time out of your day to learn about this stuff. Hopefully this webinar was informational to you. Hopefully it was very, very helpful to you and you got a lot out of it. That's the whole point. We want to be able to give this information to all the members to kind of so they can make your decisions and you guys can plan for your retirement, because honestly, it's going to come sooner before you know it. It's already the end of September in 2021. We're almost in 2022. It's like one like this. So okay, we got thank you. I had a question timed at 11:12. Okay, let's see. Let me go back here. Maybe I missed it. My bad. At 11:12, I don't see a question. Wait, did we pass it? Okay, so it may, I don't know if I did, maybe I discussed this already, but is it the question regarding Calpers? If you came from Calpers with 10 years and I have reciprocity and I'm with the county now 15 years, I was given the qualifying age of 27. Does that mean instead of 15 years, I really have 25 years? So I think what you mean is, I think if I'm understanding the question correctly, I think what you mean is like, so you've been there for 10 years and then you've been here for 15. I was given the qualifying age. So I would imagine that your age of membership was 27. So that's what I'm assuming that means, but we're only using let's see, I was given the qualifying. Does that mean that instead of 15 years, I really have 25 years? No. So, okay, so I misread the question. That's my bad. I misread the question. So reciprocal service is only used, they only combine the years of service to help determine vesting and eligibility status. You're not actually adding years of service from both agencies, so now you have 25 instead of 15. When you retired from both agencies, you will get paid a benefit based off of the years of service that you actually worked at each agency. So Calpers, you had 10 years, you're going to be paid based off of the 10 years that you worked. Currently, you have 15 years with the county, but let's say you finished with 20 years. You will actually get paid off of the 20 years that you worked at the county, not including the 10 years that at Calpers. The years of service are only added together to make you to determine vesting and eligibility, not to actually calculate service credit and to increase benefit. Hopefully that helps. Hopefully that answers the question, I should say. How does Facera and Fresno County retirement coincide? What paperwork has to be initiated first? Okay, so I'm gonna go over the process really quickly on like what to look for when you're ready to retire. So the first thing is you got to pick a date of retirement. So once you pick a date, then you give a call to our office. Then once you get a call to our office and speak to a specialist, they will create an appointment for you. When you have that appointment, come in, or it's virtual, or you can come into the office, whatever you prefer. You make that appointment, go sign paperwork, go through all the motions. The specialist will give you all the information as far as what your benefit is for that date that you're looking to retire, the paperwork that needs to be signed, and so forth. And then you can sign your retirement application. The only thing that we do ask from your department is that we do need a signed letter of resignation from your department, from your manager or supervisor. You don't have to submit that yet. When you go to the meeting, prior to the counseling session, I recommend waiting until after the counseling session to talk to the specialist first before submitting that resignation letter, but we do need a copy of that. Then after that, I recommend, after you have that meeting with the counseling session with the specialist, if you need to look for health insurance options, look at that, contact employee benefits, look at your annual leave hours, see if you have a lot of annual leave hours on the books, and if you don't want those cashed out, you can roll those over to deferred comp, to contact employee benefits to take care of that as well. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but mostly it gets started with choosing a retirement date and then contacting our office first. So hopefully that answered that question there. Okay, can you do a calculation on benefit? Can you do a calculation on benefit calculation? I'm very confused. Very confused. Can you do a calculation on benefit calculation? I'm not entirely sure what you mean by that question. As far as giving an example of a calculation, I'm very, very confused. Okay. So let's see here. If you got any other last minute questions? Anything at all? Okay. Just give it another 30 seconds, and then looks like a lot of people have already cut out from the webinar today, so maybe they had to get back to work or whatnot. But I will try and see if I can get you guys these Q&A. It's going to take me some time, so I might not be able to send it out with the stuff. But if you're actually interested in that, I can try and create something. I'm thinking, if to answer your question about calculation on benefit calculations, I don't know if this is what you're implying to, but maybe how to calculate your benefit, maybe the 3 factors that we use again. So the 3 factors that we use to calculate are your age at retirement, your years of service that you worked for your employer, and your final average compensation. And in the PowerPoint, it shows how the final average compensation is broken down by each tier. So hopefully that kind of answers your question, hopefully. Oh, new. Okay. Aside from the member portal, is there any information on the Facera website regarding benefit calculations? So as far as, well, are you referring to, I guess, if you're referring to how it's actually calculated, or like a way that you can calculate it without logging into the member portal, there isn't. But there's more information on like how the benefit is calculated and things like that. There's an active members handbook that's on our website. If you go to the website and go under active members, there's a handbook there that talks about the calculations. We do have this chart that you see on the screen here. I do have that other forms that you can print out as well, but outside the member portal and the handbook and stuff, there's not really anything else that just generally calculates, or any more information on the website calculating your benefits. Our old website used to have the benefit calculator on there, but that's how we transferred that to the member portal, and I do think the member portal is definitely more accurate for sure than our old calculator. 100% more accurate, I will go out and say. So hopefully that answered your question. If not, you can always, here, I will leave this here. You can send me an email, give me a call. Be happy to answer your questions. Other than that, hopefully that did answer your question. And I think that probably is it. I think that might be it. If you have any other questions, guys, feel free to send us an email, give us a call. You can call me too. And if I can't answer your question, I can forward it to a specialist. So that's perfectly fine. But if you have any other questions, feel free to email us, call us. We're here to help. I hope you found this information very useful today, and look out for other educational stuff that we're doing in the future. Other than that, that's it for us. Thank you for being here, taking the time out. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week. And oh, wait. I will do one more because I see it right here. I see it. Hold on. If you have deferred compensation plan, they also have an interactive retirement planner on there to help estimate your retirement income. Oh, yes, the deferred comp plan. Yes. So Nationwide does have that, but it's also good also because I don't know how they can. Well, I take that back because I don't know how accurate that is, because I don't know how they can input that, but you at least can use the Facera member portal to find out what you're getting from us, and then you can use that. I think you can overwrite that, put that number that you see in there, and then add that to your other investments and stuff to kind of get a broader picture. But that's still a very good tool. Still a very, very good tool. Okay. All right. So thanks, guys, again. Enjoy the rest of your day and the rest of your week.